Welcome to this webinar. We are excited to talk to you today about AI, its capabilities, and also our AI product, our Gen AI product that we've built specifically for the aircraft leasing market. Could you go to the next slide, please, Mo? So I'd like to introduce our two speakers, myself, Aidan Bodkin. I'm the MD of TEKaviation. I have a long history in aircraft leasing, and I'm being joined today by our CTO, Mo. Maybe if you just give a quick intro.
Yes, I've been CTO in Tech-Enable, which is part of the group that TEKaviation belongs to. I've got 20 plus years experience in development in Microsoft stack. Thank you.
Thanks, Mo. And next slide. Okay, so today's agenda, I'd like to just bring you through some, I suppose, important context for AviTalk in terms of where we are level up on Gen AI. Mo is going to take you through that. We're then going to talk about how AI and lessors are experiencing AI and more generally across all industries. Myself and Mo will take you through that. And then we'll go through some of the differences between what we see in general purpose agents and AviTalk. So that's what AviTalk is not. And then the last part, we want to take you through what AviTalk actually is. So for the next number of minutes, Mo, I'll hand over to you, and we can all be educated by your experience and expertise.
Thank you, Aidan. I hope so. So what we're going to look at in this section is we call it a leveling up exercise. So different people have different either ideas of what AI is or understanding. So we just want to level up so that we can kind of explain where eventually AviTalk would fit into that. So to understand what AI is, simply asked Copilot in Microsoft 365 for a definition of AI, and you can see that on your screen. So essentially, it's software that can simulate human intelligence, so where it's very difficult to tell machines apart from humans in their capabilities. It's a bit limiting because the AI models are increasingly more capable in many aspects from humans, but it's a good baseline definition. Anything that we think is typically human intelligence, like visual perception, speech recognition, decision making, language translation. Computers can do them as well or better than humans as we stand. Now, this is not a new phenomena, AI. It's just we're hearing a lot about it, but the journey has been continuously improving the technology and the algorithms behind it and the techniques, because it's basically statistical techniques that have evolved, but they've accelerated tremendously since the 2010s. Essentially, capabilities have exploded, and that coincides with the emergence of essentially the large kind of cloud migration. So the large hyperscalers like Microsoft with their Azure, Google with their GCP, and Meta and so on. What they have done is put in place enormous amounts of compute power storage, where a lot of data is being produced by us. That has coincided with the development of techniques like deep learning, which has literally produced a step change in capabilities in what AI models can do. And you can see that, this is human parity. AI models, almost a decade ago started to reach the human parity, and now they've gone beyond. And now if we're in 2025, there's no updated visual, but they're well improved in hand recognition, speech recognition, image recognition, reading comprehension, and language understanding. And that is, a number of things that have basically converged, leading up to, the generative AI, the large language models, small language models, and so on. As we stood, this is slightly out of date, and in the AI world, 6 months is out of date. So these models, probably 6 months ago, they were being talked about. They're now old, but essentially, when the reasoning models started coming out, like O1 and so on from OpenAI, they were put through the GPQA test This is not a test of recollection of facts, which AI models are obviously perfect at. This is essentially problems that require reasoning across areas like biology, physics, and chemistry. And their test scores are compared to a human expert, and they are very close or better than humans. The difference is each of the AI models is as good as a PhD level human in biology, chemistry, and physics all at once, where the human is either an expert in physics, biology, or chemistry. So that tells you the models are better at more advanced reasoning and problem solving. And that's essentially, capability that can be leveraged for business needs, essentially. And what makes AI different from other software? So typically, software, the way we develop it is what we call deterministic. The outcome of the software is 100% predictable because it's a series of rules that are fixed. You check something for a value. If it's a yes, you do this. If it's a no, you do something else, and the end result is 100% predictable. And if it doesn't do what you expected it to do, you fix it. It's a bug. But that's how traditional software is made. There's a point at which all the possible outcomes and the permutations and combinations become impossible to write in code. So we started training AI models where we train them the same way that kids are trained. They learn by example. So instead of doing calculation steps for a desired outcome, we teach them by example, and we give them feedback. And with that feedback loop and the large amount of data that we have available on which it is on which they are taught, they basically learn to recognize patterns in data or recognize objects in images and so forth. The only issue is that the outcome is not 100% reliable. Just like humans, they can make mistakes. This is a kind of a prediction. They're making a probability. It's just not deterministic. So this is going to affect the use of AI in processes. Because if we kind of focus back in on that definition that Microsoft 365 Copilot gave us, it's a simulation of human intelligence. And the flaws in it are that there's a problem with simulating human intelligence is humans make mistakes. People expect IT systems to be accurate and consistent almost 100% of the time. Otherwise, it's a bug that you would fix until it's accurate. And that's how software development has worked, and that's how businesses see software. But AI is not perfect, and it's not always fixable. The outcome is always a probability. Even if it's 99.99%, there's a small probability of a mistake. So you need to consider new process models whenever you try to use AI within your business. You need to treat it like a very competent colleague with a healthy dose of skepticism for a possible mistake rather than an IT system. And that's been researched. So we'll come back to that in a second. But one of the key challenges for organizations is how do you adopt AI within your business? And it's really down to the maturity of your business and the actual AI technology. So if we look at the technology that's well embedded and is taken for granted, things like the AI assistants like Siri or ChatGPT even now, the cars having navigation as well as voice like the Tesla cars have. The predictive kind of suggestions your Outlook client or Teams client gives you in response to incoming messages or emails. Similarly, translation apps on mobiles, they're all not recognized as AI. They just work. It's all very seamless. So we have AI use for many years. We just don't recognize it as such because it's so well done. In the middle, essentially, are those technologies like the ones baked into the Microsoft stack. I will speak to that because I'm more familiar with that technology stack. Is the built-in co-pilots within the Microsoft tooling, which is Dynamics 365 or their Office 365 Copilot, Copilot built into their Microsoft Fabric product. So all of these are, they're commoditized, they are tested, and they're safe scenarios which they support and accelerate productivity for the users, and they're easy to adopt within your business process. So there's not that much of a risk to actually kind of using the built-in AI within the existing products. They're not necessarily AI products, they're just products with AI being baked into them, and that's increasingly very common across all vendors. And finally, there is the AI, which that mad scientist, he's looking at basically a convolutional neural network. This is a real data science mathematical model. And essentially, this is the machine learning. So this is where you need specialist skill sets, you need data science, you need good data, and you need to take the risk of basically spending money to develop something that may or may not have a desired outcome. So this is more riskier. But if you need to look across your data, prepare it, and build a prediction model or forecast model across of it, and then you use that to make business decisions, that's what you would have to do, is take a risk. And again, there's a probability of error in all of these, so you have to understand that. So what is essentially generative AI? If we look at that, it's the ChatGPT. So most people have actually come across it, but it's essentially a model that's trained on almost all the publicly available data. Usually it's a chat interface where you interact with the model. The model knows everything under the sun, almost too much, to be honest. But it is essentially there to help you write reports, help you create presentations, summarize large amounts of content within documents, for example, generate new content for marketing, help customer support people quickly respond to incoming queries, and even helps us write software. That's basically, the culmination of all that journey from the 1950s is essentially these large language models, and that's what all this hype has been about for the last couple of years, is their capability to be multimodal and generate any type of content, because they've been trained on everything that we have produced and shared on the internet. The benefits are that it increases productivity. So it can automate tasks that are performed by humans, which can free up employees. So if there's a repeatable task where it's low enough risk that an AI agent can replace a human, they're being plugged in businesses, in business process steps, where the mundane is being replaced by AI agents, so that the human can look at the edge cases. So that's a very good strategic kind of investment to increase productivity. It's improving decision making in businesses, so it can help businesses get better decisions and insights out of the data. So, for example, we've used it multiple times to generate research reports on particular customers and their kind of industry issues and possible, opportunities for customers. So it's actually very good at collating and going across all the available public data and creating a report, based on just a single natural language prompt. It also helps uncover new business opportunities. So either it's sifting through a lot of data to give you insights, which will help you identify that, but it can actually give you the opportunities as well. So and you can also compare and use it to help bring new products to market. So very useful if you know how to interact with the models, and a lot of people have basically done that. It's still developing. It's doubling in capability every 6 months without any exaggeration. There's a race. There's a huge amount of investment going on. And essentially, it's like I'm continuously spending kind of a portion of my time to just trying to keep to what it can do right now, and where are the places where it can actually provide acceleration for our customers and internally for our own business. So keeping track of what's happening in AI and their capabilities and the risks associated with it, whether it's governance or data security or there's other terms like hallucination. That's a challenge, and it's almost like a full-time job. So we all know there's a rich ecosystem of vendors and tools and models. So OpenAI is obviously very one of the famous ones with ChatGPT. They started the whole show on the road. Anthropic and their Claude model, Google and their Gemini model. they're all of them have a version of the model that is equally as good as the other ones, and they're competing for services. So pick a vendor. I don't think there's a wrong or right answer. We generally support the OpenAI models within our organization because we're a Microsoft specialist, and the OpenAI models are hosted in addition to 11,000 other open source models on Azure in the Azure AI Foundry. So our solutions are primarily built with OpenAI, but we have access to 11,000 different models that are safely hosted within a customer's own Azure tenant. And that allows us to either build bespoke copilots within their software, or build software that gives that type of experience. There's a number of other startups that are coming along. You can read the names there. Every day there's a new startup launching new services. So the challenges of AI in kind of your industry, I would let Aidan come in here as he's the expert in the industry and speak to this. Aidan? You're mute, Aidan.
Thank you, Mo. Famous mute. I think that was really informative and hopefully gives people an understanding of sort of the context and background to Gen AI. And I think for leasing companies, the capabilities are immense, but being able to turn those capabilities into, actionable insights, which can reduce costs or even, for analytical purposes and generate future revenues. I think there's an immense gulf between potential and turning it into reality. And I've just come across this over LinkedIn, and I thought it was a really good stat because it chimes with a lot of our conversations that we're having throughout the industry. I see like the 95% of all Gen AI pilots are delivering no measurable P&L impact. I think that would probably, if we did a straw poll across the leasing industry, that would probably chime true, certainly from our conversations. I think that as I said, the lessors see the potential, but just haven't been able to turn this potential into meaningful results. Just click through, from our viewpoint, and what we're seeing and hearing is that the pilots that we've heard about is that there is a common theme in that, the governance and overall IT strategy wasn't in place before the use case was identified. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure on, execs to show that they're looking at AI and they're trying to exploit it. But I think there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done before, and it's something that we work with organizations across many different industries to put this foundation layer in place before the use case is identified. Use case selection issues, if you just click on to the next two, thanks. So I think clearly defining what the use case is, i.e. what's the problem you're trying to solve with this technology? I think that's really critical. Ultimately, I know Mo touched on this, he said that you got to treat it like a superhuman, the technology, but that's when it's in production and live in your system. But I think the implementation is really critical. And I think the implementation is an old school IT problem, and that starts with first, what's the business problem? And I think really being clear on that is critical. And more important, because it's a pilot, you need to know what define the success. What does success look like on this pilot in order to further roll it out? And I just touched on it a little earlier, is I think what we're seeing is a lot of lessors are doing some pilots, having some success, but sometimes the issues they have with the implementation is causing them to stop. And some of those implementation issues are being confused with the technology, would be our sense on things. Gen AI is an excellent technology with great potential, but it needs to be delivered in a method in which it can be deployed to further your use of AI. And I think iteration is important. And because one pilot doesn't succeed, I think the real danger is not continuing on and iterating. The lessors who will continue to iterate really will be the ones who will exploit the technology to its full benefits. Mo, maybe you might touch on some wider industry aspects as well. outside of the leasing industry, that is.
No worries. Thanks, Aidan. So I think to help understand the general experience of our customers and what we come across in research is basically this meme sums it up, which is the AI is only as good as the data behind it. And essentially, leadership wants a polished AI solution, but the data reality often looks like the bottom picture, essentially. So across markets, the biggest failure comes from skipping foundational steps: IT strategy, data governance, security, and obviously the vendor or the partner that you choose to take you along with this journey and their experience of proven delivery. So those are, I think, the key lessons. What at a very, very high level roadmap to AI success looks like, just to underscore those, is essentially a phase strategy where you put in place the foundations, as we're speaking, for your kind of governance and data. And then essentially, once your data foundation is there, you would be able to kind of, understand and implement classification and lineage within the data, and understand the gaps within your data and the quality, and also ensure obviously your compliance and privacy needs. And that, you start with targeted use cases. So you start small, pick high value, low risk use cases, and work with vendors who can, with proven track record and experience that can actually take you down that journey. So this approach ensures compliance, trust, and measurable kind of business outcomes, as Aidan spoke of the challenges. So we come to this part, which is kind of what are the differences between a general purpose AI agent and AviTalk. So we've talked so far about the difference between kind of AI and how that led to Gen AI and what that is, and the challenges for organizations in adopting. So one of the things we see is kind of organizations struggling to understand why would they kind of work with a specific agent for their particular industry, like AviTalk, versus something like a general purpose agent like Microsoft Copilot 365. So Copilot is excellent. We use it. A lot of our customers use it. So it's excellent for general productivity, summarizing, drafting, and automating work across the data that's in your Microsoft 365 estate. A lot of organizations use Microsoft 365. And their data is trusted there, whether it's emails, Teams messages, your documents in SharePoint, Teams chat messages, all of that. But when it comes to aviation leasing, Copilot does not have any knowledge or domain depth, essentially, about that particular industry vertical. So AviTalk, in the other hand, is purpose-built using the same large language model that Microsoft Copilot uses, but it understands contracts within this space. It performs rental calculations, provides traceable answers with citations, and it runs exactly like Microsoft 365 Copilot on your tenants. So it's just running on Azure within your governance boundary and your security control. None of the data leaves outside of your organization's control, same as your emails and so on, but it's designed for specifically understanding the way your contracts and the way you work within this lesser industry. So with that, I would hand over to Aidan. So Aidan.
Yeah, thanks, Mo. Yeah, and thanks for that last slide, because I think that's really foundational for why we created the use case. We've seen a lot of and heard a lot of lessors struggling to implement general purpose agents, and we really felt that there was a gap in the market, which understood the aviation market, and be it from a lessor perspective or an airline as well. But really that opportunity to leverage the technology in the correct manner in order to solve a business problem. And this is, I suppose, the summary of what we're trying to solve is that only 20 to 30% of all data is recorded in systems. The rest is locked up in documents. From that, specifically within the leasing world, we have a lot on the contracts management side, which is why we're starting to focus on contracts. So if you just skip to the next slide. So, traditionally, this is how it works, in that you've got contractual documents, PDF, Word, Excels. There's slivers of information taken from those documents. Then they're uploaded to the contracts management system. It's only partial slivers, it's not the whole document. And then there needs to be experts in contracts management that would then deal with that system. They would download the data, and then what would they do? They'd output it and put it back into contracts. So there's a lot of potential savings within this process. You will have savings in terms of upload. You don't need to upload. This system reads it all. And then the output, you don't need specialist system knowledge in order to access your data. And really that's key, is really getting closer to your data for all of your users based on permission sets, of course, but all of your users can access all of the document. So the AviTalk, the tool, it sits in the middle of all of your documentation. You simply ask it a question. It sits on a library of documents that sits within your tenant, and that gives you a full security. There's no information that will leak your overall infrastructure or environment, because it sits within your tenant. So that's really critical for lessors, especially when the documentations are so commercially sensitive. And this applies maybe to not just contracts. Purchase agreements is also a really critical document. This system works for purchase agreements as well. So really, as I said here, we can see that like all of it centers into AviTalk. There's no upload, there's no download. It sees all of the documents, not slivers of the documents. If we just scroll to the next slide then, Emma. So really, what we've designed this tool to be is your contracts management expert. And part of the developing AI is that we need to have humans in the loop, and that's part of being a developer in line with our certification with Microsoft. Really, that's key, and I'm going to take you through how that works. But the technology takes a lot of the drudgery out of it and enables your contracts management people, and indeed enables all of your employees in your organization to get closer to your documentation. Ensures, though, through what we'll see is citations, that there's accuracy in the data to be able to action whatever is required at the time. So really, this technology, every license that we have at AviTalk, it adds a contract SME to your company. Never sleeps, never takes time off. It's 24/7. It allows you to reduce the amount of time, and also enables all of your employees in your organization to access your data. So that's enough of the talking. Let's go to the demo itself, and I'll just bring it up here. So this is what the AviTalk it looks like, the user interface. So if I just click here again, I'll bring up another one. So I'll just click on this. Just this warms up the service. So it's asking me, well, what do you want to see? What aircraft do you want to talk about? So we're going to go with MSN. So I've asked it, what's the contractual delivery date? So you can see that it's brought up for this MSN that the delivery date is December 2017. And here's the key part. So we have the citation, and I'm going to click on the citation, and it's going to give you the exact document in which it will take it from. And it will also bring, if I click on any of them here, of the other ones, sorry. So you can see that when the document brought it up, it brings me to the right page on the documentation. So that's really critical, that you've got access to the information, you've got exact access to the right document and the right page within the document. So we just asked it, even another question is, when is the lease expiry? So you can see again, it's generating the answer. It gives me the answer, and it also gives me the documentation on which it's based on. So that's really critical, as I say, that nobody can use this tool and say, well, the AI told me to do it. it still gives you the facility to check that the answer is right. So that's the power of what we can see. So actually, I'm going to just also look at, I've created this one as well, just to show you. I've asked it for another aircraft. So this time it's a different aircraft. And I've asked it, what's the hours and cycles? So you can see it's giving me the answer, the hours and cycles here. The reason why I brought this up is to highlight that it also can read handwritten notes as well, not just text. So that's really critical. There's still an element of handwritten notes, certainly in older aircraft. That's not a problem that we're going to have with AviTalk. It can read all of this. So that's something that's really good. And in terms of also other capabilities of it, if I just go back here for this same aircraft for MSN TEK002. So if I just ask it, what is the rental formula? So we're going into not just reading and understanding the document, but actually we're going to interact with the document. So you can see here, this is a classic rental formula. But let's just say we're going to come to the rental fixing, and we assume that the 12-year swap, we've got the fixing from Bloomberg. We get it that it's a, I'll just write in if lessor equals to. So I've just asked it, basically how to fix this rental. So I think what's really interesting here is that it's giving you the rental, but it's with the formula, it's putting in the 12-year swap, and it's then giving you the step-by-step calculations to make sure that the calculation is correct. So this is really important. So lessors who have smaller footprints, who would need 4 eyes to look over things, they would have typically a contracts person and a pricing person. Perhaps you don't need to have the 2 people. You have the third eye, if you like, instead of a 4-eye, a 3-eye principle. This is some way where we can really reduce the level of interactions, and where we use technology to assist with the operations of a lessor. It can also, if I flick back over here, I can say what is the lease delivery conditions. Maybe I might even leave it as a typo. See if it. Okay, so you can see here it actually has understood, even though my instruction delivery conditions. If I ask it also, I'm aware most lessors are global in nature, and they'll have people from various parts of the world. So maybe you don't want to speak in English. You want to respond in, I don't know, let's say Japanese. So it can respond as a native speaker. I trust nobody on the call can speak or read Japanese, but I presume that this is correct. I know my Japanese isn't up to scratch. So you can see that really the system has a lot of capabilities, not just in reading and understanding your documentation. It gives you the citation for those documentation, so that you ensure that it's an accurate and correct information you're dealing with. You can deal with it in any language. You can read handwriting, and also, I think this is really exciting, is how you can actually interact with the documents. You can use calculations. The power of this tool is incredible in my view, and I think it can really assist lessors in how they perform their contractual on the contract side. And specifically, a lot of time is wasted in terms of relying on only the contracts people to access your documentation. This tool sits alongside the contracts team and enables all parts of the organization to access your documents at any time.